In a future where disease, pollution, and corporate greed have made getting a delicious meal more difficult than ever, the residents of Night City must prepare their food without eggs, dairy, or meat. This is Cyberpunk Kitchen. We will recreate meals from the action role-playing game Cyberpunk 2077 using ingredients that are readily available. So let's get started with today's recipe and see what a cyberpunk future might taste like. The in-game reference for today's recipe is a comment seen at the bottom of the screen when loading a saved game. Though not explicitly stated, miso can sometimes be seen in the stalls of food vendors throughout Night City. Miso is most commonly made from soybeans and koji rice. Inoculated with an edible mold, koji is used to start fermentation in a number of Asian foods such as soy sauce, sake, tsukemono or pickles, miju Korean dried soybeans, teppei, a fermented rice or other starchy food, koji amazaki, a low alcohol drink from Japan, rice vinegar, mirin, a type of rice wine used for cooking, and natto, a foul-smelling, slimy, sticky food made from whole beans. Fermentation of miso can sometimes take a year or more. The fermentation process makes nutrients in the rice and bean mixture bioavailable to humans. Don't quote me on this, but I believe that the darker the miso, the longer it has fermented. We'll be making 3 miso-based dishes today. The first of today's recipes is a miso-based salad dressing. Traditional salad dressings are made up of an oily component such as olive oil, a sour or acidic component like vinegar or lemon juice, and seasoning. The oily component is emulsified by the acid component, create a creamy consistency, and the seasoning gives the mixture flavor. For this dressing, the miso will be taking the place of the oil, and the acid component will be rice wine vinegar, and the seasoning is soy sauce and a drop of Tsp of Sesame Oil. Add equal parts of miso, rice wine vinegar, and soy sauce. Whisk until combined. Add in a drop or two of sesame oil for fragrance. Pour over the salad and serve. My rule of thumb is 1 tablespoon of each ingredient per serving, so a salad for 2 would require 2 tablespoons of miso, 2 of vinegar, and 2 of soy sauce, and so on. The second of today's recipe will be a simple miso soup. Most people are familiar with miso soup when it's served as an appetizer at sushi bars or Asian restaurants. Begin by measuring 4 cups of water in a saucepan or stock pot. Heat the water to a boil. While the water is heating, prepare the rest of the ingredients. Cut the tofu into half-inch cubes. Thinly slice the green onions into rings. If adding mushrooms, slice them thinly. Cut the nori into half-inch wide strips. Scissors might be the easiest way to do this. When the water boils, add the bouillon. Add 2 teaspoons of miso paste. Whisk until the paste and the bouillon dissolves in the water. Add the onion, mushrooms, and tofu. Boil for 4 minutes. Ladle out 1 cup of soup into 4 bowls and add the nori to each bowl. Serve hot as a starter or an appetizer. The last recipe is also for soup, but this recipe is suitable as a main course for 2. Bring 4 cups of water to a boil. While the water is heating, prepare the rest of the ingredients. Cut the bok choy leaves from their stems. Wash in cold water and set aside to drip dry, discarding the stems. If not already washed, wash the greens and set them aside to drip dry also. Soak the bean sprouts in water with a tablespoon of salt. They will need to be rinsed just prior to use. If using bouillon cubes, follow the instructions on the package to make 2 cups of soup, probably 2 cubes. If using better than bouillon or a similar product, add a tablespoon to the heating water. Add a heaping tablespoon of miso to the water. Use a whisk occasionally to stir the soup while the water is heating until the bouillon and miso have dissolved. In the meantime, while the water is heating and the bouillon miso mixture is dissolving, cut up a 1-inch wide slice of daikon radish. Slice the daikon into thin strips. A peeler could be used if it's sharp enough. Add the daikon and the bok choy right away. They will take the longest to cook. Cut the tofu into 1/2-inch cubes. When the soup begins to boil, add the greens. Next, add the rice noodles. Make sure the noodles are covered and boil the soup for 4 minutes. While the soup boils, prepare 2 large bowls by adding a sprinkle of dulse flakes and 1/8 teaspoon of sesame oil. After 4 minutes, turn off the heat. Use tongs or a slotted spoon to scoop out 1/2 the noodles into each bowl. Do the same with the vegetables. Drain the sprouts and add them too. Pour 1/2 of the remaining soup stock into each of the bowls. Serve immediately with chopsticks and a spoon. The cost of today's recipe will vary depending on where you buy your ingredients. For instance, at the time of this video, an entire bag of bok choy from an Asian market is about $2.50. The same bok choy from a traditional grocery store is well over $5. The same goes for greens. The price at a vegetable market will be much less than your local grocery store. And needless to say, the same holds true for the miso paste itself. Nutrition will depend on the exact ingredients used, but in general, miso is a very low-calorie food. The majority of calories will come from the tofu or the noodles. On the other hand, the massive amount of vegetables used provides a lot of nutrition without fat or carbs. Let's take a look at the Primo meter. Because of its simplicity and versatility, miso gets a preem. If you try one or all of these recipes, let me know in the comments below what you think. As always, thanks for watching, Chooms.